Breathe in. Welcome to What the Fuchs with Jess Fuchs. Now breathe out. And scream. Because here's what's pissed Jess off this week. Do you know how heartbreaking it is to set everything up to record a podcast, then look at the footage half an hour after you finish and it's blurry? We have travelled a long road to get to where we are, and then the road is bumpy. I am working so hard to make sure that this footage looks good today, and I'll tell you what, I don't know how to tell you it's not going to until I know it did. And isn't that heartbreaking? So we're just back at it. Every day, every week, hello, welcome back to my podcast. Hair is in pigtails. If you're not looking, that's because it looked disgusting. Every time I wear pigtails, I have never been more complimented by men in my life. And I don't know what that says about, not me. That says a lot more about men than it does me. Maybe they get really confused because it looks like a lot of pieces and they're like, wow, that's interesting. When really a girl knows that a slicked back bun or a pigtail is the answer to filth. So we've been on an unimaginable journey to get to where we are today, which is sitting in front of you, speaking to you, talking to you, because I've been house sitting, as some of you may know, and I feel like, and keep in mind my parents are fully together, but I feel like this is what the children of divorce must feel like. Every single day or every other day, I pack a bag, I come to this house, my parents' house where I usually live, and then I just have all my little things here and I do my little laundry and I feel more comfortable in this house. So like this would be mum's house and then the other house is dad's house. And I haven't felt clean in weeks. I don't think I've had a really good shower in weeks because I'm used to my setup here. And then I'm in this shower of his, which I would never have made any of those aesthetic choices. The shower comes from right above you, like I'm on holiday in Bali. And so you're never really clean. I just don't feel clean. Like when you're in like a beautiful villa somewhere where it's warm, you don't really need to get clean because you go in a pool, you go in the ocean. But I am in a city. I'm babe, pig in the city, and I need to be clean. And I just haven't felt clean in weeks. So I just pack my bag and then I drive to my little mum and dad's house and then I clean everything and I record a podcast and I do work from here. And then I drive home and I sit there in a house with a dog who has become incredibly attached to me. Obviously, who wouldn't? Can't blame her. So I'm feeling a bit child of divorce this week, and I still have a few weeks left to go before he returns. So I'm on a knife's edge. I'm on a ledge edge. I'm on the edge of a cliff. Whatever the edge is, find me there. Find the nearest edge to you. Oh, I've got my glasses around my neck like a loser, like an old auntie. Oh, like a quirky auntie. Also this week, and this is just a quick jumping in point as I launch, surely not. You know when you say certain words when you don't say a certain word for a long time and then you hear it and you're like, that can't be it. But when you launch in off the edge of the knife, the edge of the cliff, wherever you find me on that edge, I am launching right now. Everyone in my community, in my circle, is talking about mouth breathing and taping your mouth. And I know this has been a conversation on TikTok and around for a while. This isn't new, la, 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 la. However, in my circles, it's hitting hard, and everyone's talking about the tape. And everyone's talking about how if you don't breathe properly, you screw up your jaw. And now I can't think of anything but how I breathe. I'll be walking around going like, not paying attention, and then I come into my body, I come to, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm breathing through my mouth. My jaw's going to be fucked. And my bottom teeth are more overlapping than they were 5 years ago because that's apparently normal. But now I'm like, is that because I'm breathing through my mouth? And I already can't sleep at night. I am an insomniac. I am not good at sleeping. But now I'm noticing myself lying there going, and I'm like, shit, how am I breathing when I fall asleep? Also, it's full-blown allergy season. You know, I've got adult acne on my skin. eczema on my scalp and I'm breathing through my mouth like Hey Arnold, that annoying girl in Hey Arnold. And I can't sleep because I'm like, I must be breathing through my mouth because my nose is so blocked because of allergies. I think I'm just fully physically out of my depth in this house that I'm house sitting for, and nothing feels normal. I feel like I'm at camp or something and no one's picking me up. These are just some small things I've been thinking about before we really dive into the big topic, big issues. This week's been a hard one. God has been very generous with his diarrhea this week to me. And partially it's because I had some leftover meat in my fridge and I called my mum and I said, can I eat this? And she goes, oh, it's from Monday night. It's now Wednesday. You're fine. They say, who's they? They say cooked meat is fine in the fridge for a week. I don't know who my mum's source is, but I'm not locked into it, if I'm really honest with you, because they who say that meat is okay for a week also probably say they had rancid diarrhea. So I also don't think I'm 31. I've turned 31 and I don't know when things are fine in the fridge. I'm sneezing. Oh, God. I sound like I have a cold, but I swear I don't. I promise. There's so many temperatures around me. It's just the aircon. I sound nasal. Do you remember when you would get sick when you were young? Maybe this is a personal anecdote that's unrelatable to anyone else. I remember one time I got sick and I lost my voice. And I went to school a couple days later and the cute guy at school told me that it sounds sexy. And I was like, I want to sound like this all the time. There's always a sick kid in the year, and if you didn't have one in your year, it was you. There's always someone who was snotty and gross and just foul, you know? And I feel like I am that person in this school, in the Fuchs school of life. Hard knocks, life of hard knocks. I love people who never went to university or finished high school who obviously have a chip on their shoulder and are I went to the school hard knocks. I'm like, tell me about it. Let's dive into the main meat and potatoes. I don't want to say meat since it made me sick this week. Let's dive in. And I don't want to say potato because I'm allergic to potato as well. So that's a terrible phrasing that I'd like to ban the phrasing meat and potatoes from this podcast because it's two things that trigger me. The main things of this week. Now, if you don't know how the Australian driving system works, to be honest with you, I didn't either before the start of this week. This week, we have deep dived into the world of the New South Wales car world because in the span of a couple weeks, I went from having pretty much a full license to almost losing it. Very, very close to losing it. Now, I don't even know if what I'm about to tell you is correct, so feel free to fact check me and just update my references, but also I don't care. In New South Wales, you get 13 points. It's called demerit point system. Now, I don't know if demerit is an internationally recognized word or if this is a word that we use in Australia. I'm sure surely demerits is not just a random New South Wales government word. I am so dumb. Demerit can refer to a penalty given to a student for bad behaviour or a penalty point system for traffic and offences. So it's specific to that. So all the answers are saying Transport of New South Wales, but surely demerits is an international word. Fascinating. Okay. Incredible. I have no idea about this word. So there's a system in New South Wales. You get 13 points. And then with various offences, you lose said points. Now, different offences carry different point weight. And that is something I found out beautifully in the last few weeks. You also get an offence and you don't find out till later because you're not pulled over by a police. Sometimes you are. That was one of mine. And sometimes you aren't. That was also one of mine. So in the last week, I've received a number of letters in the mail just being hey, another 5 points. Hey, 3 points. Hey, 4 points. And I was like, I can't do this because I'm sitting on 1 point. There's nothing worth 1 point. Everything is between, I'm going to say 2 and 6 points. But the main thing that shook me to my core was how I lost one set of 4 points. We're going to go through the various ways that I lost my points. However, I'm going to start with the most iconic and then work my way back to the most annoying. The most iconic was I received a letter and it said, you are penalized for driving with the seatbelt under your arm. I said, under my arm? Now, sometimes I wear a very elaborate shirt, whether it's got a flower or ruffles, and I am known to put the belt under my arm just for a short trip. But I don't remember doing that recently. So I log into the website and you put your number in, your reference number, and up comes me dancing to Chapel Roan, because I remember the outfit and I remember the tunnel. I had just really gotten into my Chapel Roan era and I was blasting it. Every single song on repeat, incredible. So I am hands in the air, belt under my tit, blasting Chapel Roan, mouth open, singing with the full lung capacity. And they captured me. Seatbelt under my arm, under my breast. And I understand that a seatbelt is integral to safety. However, come on. If they can capture the fact that a seatbelt is underneath my arm, what else are they seeing? Terrifying. So that was about 4 or 5 points. Then about a week later, I am driving and I'm replying to a message and I'm turning from a tiny street onto like a busier street, and I had just finished therapy and I was replying because I was going to meet someone. No one's on my street, nothing's happening. I'm basically in park, but I'm in the middle of the street, and a motorbike comes next to me. And as soon as I look over my shoulder to see the motorbike, because it was like, when someone pulls up next to you, you can tell you're being looked at, and it's a police officer. And I throw my phone down, and then he just looks at me, puts on his siren, wow, once. Fuck you. You're better off just tapping on my screen, like on my window. Why you put the thing on once? Is that like a legal thing you have to do it? Or is it a symbolic part of the ceremony of you fucking with me for that day? So he makes me pull even more over. I'm basically over. Puts his fucking little motorbike behind me. You may as well be in a horse, you big dog. Comes up to my window. I put the window down. I've been crying because I'm at therapy. I also have like no points left, and I'm kind of aware of that. Actually, at this point, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? You know when you don't know, but you know. That's me on my driver's license. I was surprised to find out that I had 13 points at any point in my driving career. I would have thought they gave me a driver's license and went, hey, we're starting you off 1 point. You don't get all 13. No worries. Baker's doesn't. And he comes up to my window and he goes, what were you doing on your phone? Now, I should have started crying and just said, I'm sorry, I just went to therapy. Also, he wouldn't have cared. Like, and fair enough. As we've established on this podcast, sometimes I think we're in an over-therapized world where people weaponize their therapy language, and I am not trying to do that. Though to get out of a ticket, I would have. But also, I know that I am not the sort of girl who gets out of a ticket. Like I can talk my way into things, but I can't talk my way out of things when it comes to engaging with a man. Like, there are friends of mine who can look at a man and be like, I'm so sorry. And he'd be like, oh my God, of course. How would you know you're dumb? They'd look at me and be like, I can tell you're annoying, but you're not getting out of a ticket. That's the kind of power I have. And I can talk a man into something, but I can't talk you out of it. That's not within my kind of wheelhouse. And I know that. I think as I've gotten older and more mature, I realize about myself. And I think it strengthens my character and me as a person of influence. No problem. I'm happy with that. So he's like, what were you doing? I was putting on a podcast. I should have said texting, but who cares? Or I should have said I went to therapy and it was really bad. But I didn't. And he just goes, well, you were putting on a podcast. Why did you need 2 hands for that? And I'm like, are you giving me a ticket? Like, are we arguing about if you need 1 or 2 hands? Because then we can really get into what we can use 1 or 2 hands for, bitch. Like, come on. I would give a wristy to get out of a parking ticket. That's the truth. I wouldn't do much more, but I'd be happy to use my hands. If I'm using my hands to text, I can use my hands to quickly jack a police officer off. Surely that this is not appropriate to talk about. Like, surely I can be sued by someone for this. Anyway, so then he goes, well, that's a loss of blah, 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 demerit points, 4, 5, I don't know. And I just, when you just go, this is life. Life is coming at me thick and fast, just like me this week after I ate some off meat. And I just thought, just embrace it, Jess. And I just went, yeah, right. Whatever. I do remember he asked me something and I thought, I'm going to make it intentionally hard. He has to over-explain himself. So what did he ask me? He told me that there's a fine of so much money, like $250 or something insane. And then he goes, do you know how many points you have left? And I go, no, how would I know that? And he goes, you can look in the system. I go, don't you have a system? And he just stared at me and I just stared at him. And I was like, neither of us are going to try to flirt to help each other out today. So I don't fucking care. So just give me the ticket and fuck off. Anyway, Pig gets back on his little tricycle and rides off. And I was just like, fuck you. Anyway, so now I've got 1 point left. And the third major offense that I had happened 2 years ago, or maybe it was 3 now. And every 3 years after the specific incident, you get some points back. So I am due for a return to some of my former glory to get maybe 2 or 3 points back. The other one I got was like 3 years ago. I was going to my sister's house and I was running late. Of course, she is on my list of people I consistently run late for whatever mental reason. And it was an 80 zone. And I didn't notice that the speed limit had been turned down to 60 because there was a crash, in quotes. But the crash was not there anymore. They had cleared it away. However, the signs hadn't gone back to 80 yet, but I didn't know that and I didn't see a crash, so I was driving 80. So I was 20 kilometers over the speed limit, but not really. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I've got 1 point left. I just think that I understand this. Oh, and then another... There's so many. And then I think I must have gotten my points back for this, but another time I had my phone on my knee before I had my car phone jack thing. But that's kind of what I'd argue is inconsequential. So I'm sitting at 1 point left. So that's my car situation. And to be I do think now, given all of these firing shots, I wouldn't even say they're warning shots. I've been shot in the heart a couple of times. The knee, phone on knee, that's a shot to the patella. Texting, that's shots to the hand. Chapel Roan, shot to a heart. That one hurt. Seatbelt under the arm. I know it's dangerous because you just go flying through the windshield or some shit. I saw a TikTok recently of a fat person who didn't go flying through because their stomach just got stuck on the wheel. That's me. Inbuilt. What's inbuilt? What's the thing that goes off from the wheel? Inbuilt, I want to say diffuser, but I don't think that's it at all. Let's see. Inbuilt car crash go off wheel thing. Fuck. Steering wheel. What's it called? What's it called that comes out of the steering wheel? What's it called that comes out of the steering wheel crash? Airbag. I feel like an airbag mentally. But that's inbuilt airbag is what I've got going on with my stomach. Okay. It's just, I also think the Chapel Roan, me singing a Chapel Roan just shows you how powerful her work is. And I would never critique her for that. I think she is fantastic. And I think that her music moves me. It moves me. It possesses me to take the belt, which should sit over the breasts, and put them underneath. Also, surely if you have really big tits, the seatbelt, what does it actually physically do? Now, I've got the picture of me singing a Chapel Roan while dancing. That will be put onto the screen, and I can share that on Instagram. So if you want to see what that looks like, feel free to watch the video. You can jump on. I don't know how far in we are. So I'm driving like I've got 100 points. That's the truth. Because now I think I've perfected my setup. My setup is great. I've got a little camera, a little tripod-y camera. None of these words are correct. I've got a phone jack on my windscreen. Perfect. I wear the seatbelt betwixt my tits. Perfect. I check the speed zone. perfect. I don't speed anymore. Not even a little. Not even a little. And most of you are doing 5-7 kilometers over. Don't lie to me. Don't look at me with pigtails and a pink sweater and in the middle of winter, summer, and say, you're not. We're all going a little over, and that's fine. Someone told me that you can dispute a speeding charge if it's only a couple kilometers over because those cameras are typically a few kilometers out. So I think that's why it's okay to go like in a 60, you could go 65, like a cheeky little bit amount over because the cameras won't catch that. But I was going 20 kilometers, so fair play, New South Wales Transport Car Service. The next thing we're going to jump into is a series that has been well on Netflix for a while. This is not new. I am late to the game. I'll take that on the chin. It's called Popstar Academy Cat's Eye, and the description is Popstar Academy Cat's Eye is a Netflix docu-series that follows the creation of the K-pop girl group Cat's Eye. So the series follows 20 young women from around the world as they undergo a K-pop training program in Los Angeles to become the members of Cat's Eye. They're selected from over 120,000 applicants, and then essentially they come together, and the idea is it's like an academy where they're learning how to do everything. And apparently it mimics like a lot of the academies that they have for many K-pop bands that have come out, where essentially they're like hectic training you, like you're selected. And it's almost like, I guess, like a performance art school or like a university for performing, where they're teaching you like singing, dancing, like group dynamics, pick your aesthetic, put you together, blah, blah, blah. But it's highly competitive and like very sought after. And I know a little bit about K-pop because everyone's obsessed. And my sister and her friend Ramesh love it. So like I've heard a bit, you know, about some of it. My sister loves K-pop as well. Or is it my sister and then Nick White also likes like BTS and stuff like that. So I've heard a bunch. And also BTS is so famous, like so insanely famous that obviously just in the ether, I know a bit about certain K-pop bands and blah, blah, blah. My bone to pick with this show is, and this can be applied to like, I'm going to say most reality shows. However, the issue I have with this one specifically is you have girls who are 14 to like 21, I want to say was the oldest, maybe 20. And I think once you're 18, 19, 20, okay, you are of an age of consent that you can like make your own decisions and you're like an adult in quotes, but yeah, right. As if your brain hasn't fully developed, you shouldn't be making decisions. Like how can you can't rent a car without having to pay extra till you're 25. So why are you being able to make decisions? That's insane. Because imagine telling a 22-year-old like your mum still has to sign like your work slip so you can ask for a day off at your corporate cuck job. So the issue I have is that, and this is going to contain a spoiler, but I don't think it will ruin the entire show because I think it makes a bit of sense as to what I've described with like they're competing in quotes to get into a band. The way it was sold to these girls in the first like 4 or 5 episodes is like, we're coming here, we're following your journey. And one of them makes a comment later that they almost like didn't know that they were doing anything with this footage, but they were filming it and just documenting as they were all progressing. And they do like talking to camera, like talking heads, whatever, where they're like, oh, you know, so-and-so hasn't been showing up to training and it's really frustrating. And they all live in this house together. And so the first however many episodes are just showing them like training the ups and downs of like, you know, this person is ranked, and they rank them, right? So they're like, this person is number 1 singer, but like number 12 dancer. This one's number 12 for this and that. And there's all these categories like star power, singing, dancing, and some other stuff. But then about six maybe episodes in, they changed the format of the show from being like, we're just following you as we teach you, lol, 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 and we eliminate people who like aren't working hard or just aren't a right fit for the program, to this is a knockout round competition survivor style show. Now, obviously, you can look at Love Island and other kind of reality shows where there are twists and turns, but those shows have been around for so long. Like if you go into Big Brother now and you're painted to be like the evil guy, or if you're on, you know, Farmer Wants a Wife and people make it out like you're like a douchebag farmer, there's been so many seasons of this. It is fair play when you go on that they can turn you into whoever they want with editing. We know that. But this show, when you've got like 14-year-old girls completely being exploited. This is not funny. This isn't funny. This is just how I felt, because I felt dirty watching it. I was like, this is weird watching these girls like sobbing that they're competing in these like really horrible competitions. And the world of entertainment, as someone who's 31 wearing pigtails and aged out of playing a high schooler in a Netflix movie, even though that is my dream, is so horrendous to women, as we know already, that I'm like, these 14-year-old girls aren't actually emotionally intelligent enough yet to understand that them being eliminated is literally for good TV, in quotes, as opposed to they're not talented, they are talented, this and that. And it just felt really like weird watching it. And I think if you go on like a Love Island and you're like 22 and you're like, I'm just looking for love, we know you're looking to grow your social media platform, and that's okay, because they're talentless in a lot of ways and they're using their personality to gain following, which is great, amazing, no problem on that. But when you're putting these like young teenagers into a space that is like fostering their freaking talent, and then you turn around and go, boom, it's elimination, bitch. And then they're sobbing. Like one of the girls, I don't remember how old she was. I'm going to say between 18 and 20. So she was probably 19 or whatever. She ended up leaving the show because she was like, this doesn't align with my moral view. And I was like, that's the only emotionally intelligent one, because, or not even, like the others are also smart, but they're like desperate for success. And I was saying this to a friend. I was like, it's really fucked, because these people are so desperate to be successful in such a competitive world where it's like you can't make a dent. Like this is what, episode 8 of podcast. I can't make a bloody dent in this landscape. And so if you, when I was 17, 18, even 22, were like, hey, if you come and do this, like you might become more successful because we can give you some like tools to success, I would jump at the opportunity. Even now, if you were like, hey, come and do this thing, like blah, 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 it'll help you with your comedy career. Of course, we're all desperate. We're all trying our fucking hardest. It just felt really dirty watching. Like I felt really like it's exploitative. And they're also all like dancing in this way that like one of the final, so they do all these challenges, and one of the like later in the season challenges, they do Buttons. I think it was Buttons by, what's it called? Oh my God. My word finding today is very bad. Must be tired. But they sing Buttons by Pussycat Dolls, and they go, for this challenge, we're going to put any of the girls who are 18 or over in it just because it's a bit more like explicit. And it's like them trying to overtly recognize like, oh, we can't sexualize like 15-year-olds. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still like, it's just so weird. And I know this is a well-trodden meme and like thing on the online. It's like you see 14, 15-year-old girls now, and I'm like screaming at the idea of me being 15. Like when I was 15, I had a Biggest Loser t-shirt from the NBC store in New York, and I wore that to bed, and we had a sleepover. Me and my 4 best friends had a sleepover one night, and one of the girls, a guy was like outside the house, so she wore my Biggest Loser t-shirt because she couldn't find anything else, and went outside and had her like first kiss, or maybe she was 14 or something, had her first kiss in my Biggest Loser toothpaste stained shirt. That's not what people are doing now. Now kids can rent an Airbnb and like give a blowy on a Tuesday night. I'm like, it is sad that the innocence has been lost. And obviously there would have been 14, 15-year-olds in Hollywood back in 2002 who were like doing coke off fucking, you know, whoever's table in their mansion in the Hollywood Hills. It's not to say that there aren't young people who have been exploited since the beginning of time, but now it is just so visible. Like you see TikTok and you see Instagram, and I feel like I'm 1,000 years old saying this, but you see these like young people just no innocence for their youth, where like we had cameras and phones and all this stuff, but like, you know, you might have taken like a little shitty digital camera and taken some photos on like a night out. Like, God, some of the albums I've had to put on unlisted and private on my Facebook are like horrific. From like, we'd go and get drunk at someone's house, and so you have some photos and then you put up an album on Monday, and it's like, that's insane. But it still wasn't like a camera and a phone and pictures just weren't as easy to come by at these house parties where like you're young and just like figuring shit out, and it's so crazy. And I know I feel so old. I feel so old. And I'm not saying it in a critical way of these kids. I'm like, I love these kids. I love my girls. But I just feel like it's like, you know, even with comedy, I film or record myself because I'm watching myself back to get better. But there are times that I try jokes that I'm like, this is a sensitive topic, or this is a topic that's hard to navigate. And I don't want you in the audience filming me, because the joke might be a bit like, ooh, a bit blue or a bit this or that now, but in 3 months it will be completely different, and it will be inoffensive, and it will be well massaged into the right kind of joke that makes the right kind of point. And it's kind of that same thing. It's like these kids are just little baby jokes that have to turn into full-blown premises that will be safe in the world. And it's crazy. And I feel like an old lady saying this. I'm like, kids these days. I'm not criticizing the kids. I'm saying that it must be so hard to be in the environment they are in, because to navigate that and to have everything documented, and to also not have it be okay to have these like awkward, ugly phases. It's like, God damn, like I still am going through an awkward, ugly phase, and these kids are like by 13 have to have like perfect skin. And it's like, girl, I have adult acne and I'm cool with that because I had teenage acne and I learned how to be fine with it. And these kids just like, stop calling them kids. I could have a child. How sickening is that? I'm old enough that I could have like 4. My mum had 3 by the time she was my age. Fuck off with that nonsense. I can't fathom not being fertile till I'm 75, because 75 is the new 40. Do you know what I mean? That means nothing, so you don't need to know what I mean. All right, I'm not going to take an online submission today just because I have spoken so much nonsense, but I do want to say one final thing, which is like, God, isn't it hard to get things done? The way that I can procrastinate with things that I still also need to get done, but I just don't get them done because I'm avoiding the things I need to get done, is incredible. That in and of itself is an art, is a skillful art that is chiseled from marble like fucking David statue. I am so good at avoiding the things that need to get done. And it's so miserable because I know we all know this, right? We all know that we are bad at this. Like the biggest thing recently for me is, I'm letting you guys into the inner workings of the Fuchs household, the HQ. One of the goals that I have for the rest of this year and for next year is to grow my online following. That's just going to help me get in the door to be able to like pitch things, you know, TV show ideas, and, you know, if I want to sell a stand-up special, whatever. It's like we live in a fucking world where you have to have like 1 billion followers, and Jesus only had 12, and look at the impact. So I'm just looking for 12 of you to be loyal diehard fans, and I've got a couple on the fucking fisherman's hook, but I'm still looking to get a couple more. I'll say that. So if you want to be enlisted in the army, let me know. But I said, okay, you're going to make content. Like you just more like I used to during, just as we were coming out of COVID and I was settling back into living in Australia, I didn't really have as many shows and I didn't really know what I was fucking doing with my life. Same as now in some ways, but I was doing all these like straight to camera. Like I would just put my camera up on my ledge and then do a green screen and just like tell a story. And a bunch of those went viral, and I also just love them like as a format because they're really silly, and then you could just like kind of rip into something and make it, it's like building a stand-up bit, but you're just obviously doing it with more visuals, which is really fun. So I was like, okay, for the back end of the year, now that my special has been taped, I'm like, great. What I'm going to work on is just putting more content out. And every day, what do you think I do? I always have in my calendar 9 till 10 to film content. Never do it. I never do it. I do everything but. So that's just a personal self-complaint. Anyway, what else is going on? There's nothing else. Those are the main things. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being me. Thanks for we are family. La 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 la. I've got some shows coming up, but whatever, you guys know them from past episodes. You can also DM me if you're in Sydney and you want to come. I will be in Melbourne soon too, which is actually going to be a bit cute. So if anyone's out here in the not the cave. If anyone's out here, if anyone's out there, come and see some shows. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mother, tell your family. Love you so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you for joining me at What the I was going to say zoom out. Fuchs, but I don't think we have that capability because I don't even know what this footage looks like. But thank you for joining me. See you later. Lots of love. LOL. Bye.